Most people live in a constant state of distraction. They surround themselves with noise, endless scrolling, social validation, and external expectations just to avoid the one thing that could truly set them free, facing their own pain. They drown their inner world in the chaos of the outer world, hoping that if they just stay busy enough, if they just keep moving, their wounds will somehow heal themselves. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you never sit with your pain, it will own you. If you don't confront your deepest wounds, they will shape your life in ways you don't even realize. They will dictate your choices, sabotage your happiness, and manifest in your relationships, your work, and even your sense of self-worth. So what do most people do? They run. They tell themselves they're fine. They numb themselves with temporary distractions, social media, overworking, meaningless relationships, or even substances. Anything to avoid sitting in silence, because silence is terrifying. Silence forces you to listen to the voices you've been suppressing. It forces you to meet the version of yourself you've been running from. But what if, instead of running, you stopped? What if, instead of drowning in distractions, you embrace solitude? Not as an escape, but as a mirror. A ruthless, honest mirror that forces you to look at the things you've been avoiding your entire life. Most people believe that healing comes from external sources. We're told to find comfort in therapy, in relationships, in new experiences. And while these can be helpful, they are not the full answer. Because no matter where you go, no matter who you're with, you are still with yourself. And if the relationship you have with yourself is fractured, nothing external will ever fix it. So why do people stay stuck? Why do they repeat the same toxic patterns? Why do they find themselves in the same situations, feeling the same pain over and over again? The answer is simple. They have never confronted the root cause. They have never allowed themselves the space to process, to reflect, to heal. Pain does not disappear simply because you ignore it. It buries itself deeper into your subconscious, shaping your thoughts, behaviors, and emotions in ways you don't even realize. If you don't process past rejection, you will spend your life seeking constant validation. If you don't acknowledge old trauma, you will self-sabotage your own happiness. If you don't face your deepest fears, you will build a life designed to avoid them rather than transcend them. And this is why solitude is not just important, it is necessary. It is the only space where you can strip away the masks, the coping mechanisms, the distractions, and see yourself for who you truly are. And it is in this space, this quiet, sometimes painful space, that real healing begins. But solitude is not easy. Most people fear being alone because they confuse solitude with loneliness. But there is a difference. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Solitude is the presence of self. Loneliness is a longing for external validation. Solitude is an opportunity for internal transformation. The great thinkers, philosophers, and sages throughout history knew this. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, practiced solitude not as an escape, but as a way to gain clarity. He understood that external noise clouded inner wisdom. Buddha reached enlightenment through solitude and deep self-reflection. Nietzsche, Jung, and countless other minds recognized that true transformation happens in silence, not in the noise of the world. So how do you begin? How do you use solitude as a tool for healing instead of fearing it as a form of suffering? The first step is to create space. You must intentionally disconnect from external distractions, social media, television, the constant need to be around others. You must create an environment where you can be fully present with yourself. This doesn't mean isolating yourself forever. It means allowing moments in your life where you can retreat from the noise and listen to what's happening inside of you. When you do this, something uncomfortable will happen. The emotions you've been avoiding will rise to the surface. The wounds you thought you buried will demand your attention. And this is where most people give up. They distract themselves again. They run. They tell themselves it's too painful, like that they're not ready. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is a signal, a guide, a teacher. Instead of suppressing it, ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? If you feel lonely, what does that say about your relationship with yourself? If you feel insecure, where did that belief originate? If you feel lost, what parts of yourself have you been neglecting? Journaling, meditation, deep contemplation, These practices allow you to externalize your internal wounds. They help you put words to emotions you've never fully processed. When you write down your emotions, when you observe your thought patterns, you start to understand your own mind. You start to see the subconscious programming that has been dictating your life. And once you see it, you can change it. Most people focus on fixing the surface problems, bad habits, toxic relationships, lack of motivation. But those are just symptoms. The real healing happens when you go to the root, the beliefs and emotional wounds that have been controlling your behavior. If you never address the root, the symptoms will keep returning in different forms. Healing is not about moving on. It's about integrating your past in a way that allows you to grow beyond it. It's about looking at your pain and saying, I see you, I understand you, but you no longer control me. Some of the most resilient individuals didn't overcome their pain by avoiding it. They used it as a catalyst for transformation. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "To live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering." Carl Jung emphasized shadow work, confronting the darkest parts of yourself to achieve true self-integration. Your pain is not a weakness, it is raw material for your evolution. So what does this mean for you? It means you have a choice. You can keep running or you can stop. You can sit in solitude, you can face your pain, you can finally heal. But healing requires courage. Most people will spend their entire lives running from their pain. They will drown in distractions, chase external validation, and live behind a mask, never realizing that the freedom they seek has been inside them all along. But you don't have to be most people. If you truly want to heal, ask yourself these questions. 1. What emotional wounds am I still avoiding and why? 2. How do I distract myself from facing my own thoughts? 3. If I had to be alone with myself for a month, what emotions or thoughts would rise to the surface? Healing starts when you stop running. Will you be brave enough to face yourself? If this message resonated with you, don't just move on to the next distraction. Take action. Find solitude. Start today. And if you want more insights like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's keep this journey going together.